The Macho Man, tower of power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey, the sky's the limit and the space is the place on Top Rope Wrestling Podcast, coming to you from Eventide Entertainment. Dig it!
Welcome back to another episode of Top Rope Wrestling. We are coming at you for the second week, this time talking about WWE Fastlane, SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view that was just dropped last night. It is Monday, March 12th, and you guys will be hearing this on Thursday. So we're going to be missing out on some things, but I am joined again, as always, by Ben Norsworthy. Again, welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Good to be back. Episode number 2.
Absolutely. First one went well. We had some listeners, some people that were other than us, so that's always good. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we can grab a few more people this time through. And on the road to WrestleMania, we'll be looking to grab even more to our huge WrestleMania edition episode that we will be doing in early April. I don't think it's going to be nearly as long as WrestleMania. It's 5 hours, including the pre-show? Maybe even 6. Is it a 2-hour pre-show this year?
Yeah, probably 2 hours.
Oh, man.
A lot to fit in. And then, of course, the show's probably going to be 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hour. Man, and we will be looking at the matches that have already been announced and those that we are speculating that actually, by the time this drops, a couple more, even tonight on Raw and tomorrow on SmackDown, we may get a couple more matches solidified. We're going to get started with some news. So, Ben, what do you got for us this week?
Real quickly, I'd like to promote, we have a Facebook page now. It's Top Rope Wrestling Podcast at Facebook. We also have an email link to that and Eventide Entertainment's webpage, where you can find all these wonderful podcasts, including ours at Eventide Entertainment. News and notes. First one, breaking today, actually, while we were at work. Jeff Hardy, arrested last night, DUI. Was taken to jail, posted bail, released on his own cognizance. WWE released a statement saying that basically that is his own personal problems, and they are looking into this situation.
Yeah, not again, Jeff. The whole problem was that when he first left, I mean, not that one drug of choice is better than another, but at least it's just alcohol this time. But he's putting people's lives at danger being out there, and that was his big deal when he's doing it the first time before he was let go a few years back. And so it's a disappointment to see that again. It may be a long time before we see Brother Nero joining Woken Matt Hardy.
And again, you said right before we started filming, we were talking about it, and you spoke of like it's the time off. It's him having time off, not being on the road, not being around people that can look out for him. Not that there's anything against drinking alcohol. I drink plenty myself. But somebody that has had a history of substance abuse problems like Jeff Hardy, he's not putting himself in the best situation that he should be.
Yeah, and I think the biggest issue with it is, if you've ever watched any WWE documentary, some biographical documentary, you always hear about the hard times that these wrestlers went through. It's usually when they get injured. They turn to drugs or they turn to painkillers because they are hurting their body through quite a lot, and especially when you have to take time away from something where it's your life, it's everything that you've ever done. You get bored, and sometimes these wrestlers turn to alcohol, drugs, and everything like that. And so hopefully he can get his act together and get back on programming soon, because it looked like he was about to come back. I mean, it'd been 4 months, 5 months almost.
We talked the previous podcast that was looking hopefully be back by WrestleMania. Now that's maybe summertime if he's checks himself into rehab, or WWE decides to suspend him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's gonna get a suspension. The two things that at least play into his favor is that it wasn't an illegal drug. So that is going to lessen the suspension. Yeah. And there's no domestic violence, because that seems to have been the big issue with a lot of WWE suspensions and releases of the past couple months. So, we'll see him again soon. Hopefully it's sooner than later. But yeah, I'm disappointed. I was hoping for Brother Nero. Was really looking forward to that.
Still a possibility.
Yep.
Next thing I want to talk about, greatest Royal Rumble ever. It's taking place in April in Saudi Arabia. WWE here reached a deal with a prince in Saudi Arabia to host the greatest Royal Rumble ever. 50-man Royal Rumble. Everybody from The Undertaker, John Cena, Triple H, even their talks today about reaching a small contract with Chris Jericho to return for this.
I'd be surprised if Michaels doesn't even make an appearance.
With Shawn Michaels, yeah. It's taking place in April. They haven't said yet whether it's going to be aired on the network, but they're assuming that it will be. So that'd be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing some, as we get closer to WrestleMania, or even just, they may even announce it at WrestleMania as far as programming. I think that'll probably end up being on the network. They're not going to lose that kind of an opportunity. When they put the Beast from the East, some of these or live at Madison Square Garden where you got Lesnar and Big Show, they're going to put those on the network. They're going to make a 50-man Rumble. Definitely, it'll make its way. My interest is what the winner going to get. Is that going to be maybe a SummerSlam thing, or
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
A bonus maybe?
A 50-man, I don't know, a trophy? I mean, is that too passe now? Like,
I don't know, though. I mean, the trophy alone doesn't seem to do much because the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial doesn't, or the Battle Royal, that doesn't seem to, may not even happen this year. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know.
Other news, we might have talked about this on the podcast. I know it was posted on Top Rope Wrestling Podcast Facebook page. Rey Mysterio suffered an injury about 2 weeks ago. He partially tore his bicep muscle.
Yep. So
the last time came to you guys on this podcast, we were talking about WWE was in negotiations with Rey Mysterio about returning to WWE. That has so far been put on hold. He's recovering. They're expecting him to be out at least a month or two to repair this. But from what I've seen and from what I've read, that WWE still has interest in bringing him back. They just want him to get healthy.
The nice thing is it's not a lower body injury. Those are the ones that can definitely take longer. Those are the ones that could definitely have the longer impact, the long-lasting impact. We've seen John Cena, Randy Orton, some of these guys come back even in an older age from arm injuries and shoulder injuries and things like that. So I think we'll be seeing him probably by SummerSlam. It opens up the door then again for Cena. It seemed like that was going to be his WrestleMania match, but now I think we're leaning back again towards Undertaker. We will see. I think that at least for the short term, we'll be without Mysterio. They don't necessarily need him, but maybe he gets a SummerSlam match now instead.
Yeah, maybe. It'll be good to see him back.
Yeah,
one more time.
He looked good in the Rumble. Looked very good.
He did. Last piece of news. Since the last time we broadcast, we've had two people announced, one officially, one unofficially, for the WWE Hall of Fame this year. The official one is Hillbilly Jim.
Yep, your old school one.
Old school. And then something that they'll probably announce tonight on Raw.
Yeah, it'll drop.
Is Kid Rock as their celebrity inductee into the Hall of Fame, celebrity wing.
Yeah, I think it's due for Hillbilly Jim. A lot of people were upset because they're like, how is this good wrestling? But it's the long-lasting impact. He's one of those guys that has stuck with the business and has helped raise an entire new generation or two of wrestlers. He was a performer. And no one looks at Dusty Rhodes as being the best technical wrestler in the world, but Dusty helped mentor, and Dusty helped do a lot of things that helped the business stay alive. And that's what Hillbilly Jim has done. He's stuck around the business, and anytime you see a major event, he's always there. He's there at any pay-per-view. He's working. That's his life, and he's done a lot. So this is kind of more of a legacy award as a thank you, as opposed to what he did with his in-ring career. So there's a couple that I wanted to add here. We did drop this on the Facebook page, but there is going to be a new NXT championship that is added. Is it the North American title?
And I'm very excited because I believe they're going to have the match at the NXT Takeover the night before WrestleMania. I believe the rumor is that it's possibly a ladder match.
It'd be good. I have gotten to the point now where these takeovers, not every single one, but takeover before Mania is almost as good as Mania.
Yeah.
Like last year's was phenomenal. It was an amazing night. I think this year we'll see. We're finally going to see Almas join in even the Authors of Pain. I think they may actually debut tonight, because we'll talk about this when we get to the Mania preview. The Bar's got no one to wrestle. They've destroyed everybody. So something has to happen.
And any chances of Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy coming back has now been squashed.
Yeah. So we'll see about that. And then speaking of Raw tonight, we are looking at potentially seeing the Ultimate Deletion that has been filmed. They said the filming for that is done. So potentially may show up tonight. And that may give us a little bit more on the road to WrestleMania as well.
It has to be better than the one they did with the New Day.
That was a valiant effort, but felt so flat.
Yeah, and it was just like, well, we can do it too.
Yeah,
is what Matt Hardy did when he was with TNA.
Yeah, it was. If you guys have not gone out and seen the final deletion with TNA with Matt and Jeff Hardy, go watch it. It is some of the best bad wrestling. I mean, it shouldn't work. There's nothing about this that should be entertaining or work as far as a wrestling match. But you give a guy a complete creative control, and you can see what he does with it. And what Matt Hardy did was just phenomenal. It was really, really fun. All right. So I think that's about it for news. Anything else from you, Ben?
Nope, got nothing.
Okay. So we will take a quick little break to see what is coming up soon from Eventide.
Nothing brings people together quite like the movies, and every week Aaron Lopez wants you to join him in a discussion about the latest and greatest in the world of film. So grab a drink, grab some popcorn, and get comfy. Come join Aaron and friends every Thursday at The Drive-In, presented by Eventide Entertainment. The weekend is over. Monday is here, but that doesn't have to be the end of your fun. Every week, Ellison Smith brings you a new episode of Saltwater Gaming, breaking down video games of all different genres, consoles, platforms, and eras. Get it all every Monday on Saltwater Gaming, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Welcome back. We are here to talk about Fastlane. Last night, Fastlane was our SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view, and we had 7 matches that through the night, including our pre-show match. Initial reactions before we do a breakdown and a kind of a match-by-match. What were your initial reactions right after the pay-per-view, and have they changed after you've had about a night to sit on it?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. We were talking before we started recording about how it's just sometimes it's harder to follow some of the storylines, or maybe it doesn't feel like as much effort or attention is given to it at SmackDown instead of Raw. But it was good. I enjoyed it. There were a couple of matches that fell flat for me, and there was a couple of matches that, even though I kind of knew what the outcome was, I enjoyed the match.
Yeah, and I think we're at that time right now where a lot of what WWE does on the road to WrestleMania is very scripted. You know what's going to happen. There's so much speculation. Yeah. Even if you stay away from the rumor mill, you kind of know what's going to happen. We knew a lot of the champions that were going to happen, a lot of what was eventually going to happen throughout the pay-per-view. There were no major swerves. I think the closest swerve we got was in the tag team match that we'll talk about, and maybe a little post-match.
Pretty much stuff has been set in stone since fall.
Yeah, you know what's going on. So it's tough to really be excited. We had both mentioned that SmackDown has clearly got better wrestling overall. It doesn't have the flash always. There's not as many high spots. Overall, the matches were like Ben said, yeah, the matches were all right. There were some that were better than others. But, I was not overtly thrilled with this one, and I think it was simply just because of some of the booking. And we left this pay-per-view with potentially 3 more triple threat matches. And that worries me. That's the only worry that I have for WrestleMania right now, is how many triple threat matches can you put in before we're tired of seeing 3 guys or 3 girls or three tag teams going at it. So that was my only major okay, because we left the night with potentially 3 more of them going to happen. But it was a good pay-per-view. Let's jump right into it. The preview, or our pre-show, sorry, not preview, had Breezango and Ty Dillinger facing off against Gable and Benjamin and Mojo Rawley. What were your thoughts on this pre-show match?
It was good. It was okay. I guess I'll retract that first statement. It was okay. Again, they previewed it as a match they put together right before the show to give guys some airtime, get a paycheck on a pay-per-view. I walked out with more questions, like what are they going to do with Justin Gabriel? Is he ever going to get a new gimmick? Or is he just guy that's going to be shellacked with a new tag team partner? He's got potential. He's a great wrestler.
Yeah, Gable.
He's a great grappler. I just don't know if he's ever going to get a real push.
Yeah, him and Jason Jordan were a good tag team. They were American Alpha. They were phenomenal at NXT. That's the one thing that WWE does not do well, is they do not transfer their tag teams from NXT to the main roster.
It didn't translate well.
None of them have. The only one I think that could even come close is maybe the Revival, and that was just because they had the push. Unfortunately, he had an injury that kind of derailed them. It looks like maybe they'll get a little bit of a push again. But even then, every single one that comes up, the Ascension was phenomenal in NXT. Now they're a joke. You continuously see all these really great tag teams come up and no one knows what to do with them. And it's not that they don't know how to book tag teams. They just don't know how to book consistent tag teams. There's so many of them that it's just like, well, everyone's got to be going for the titles. That didn't always used to be the case. You just had tag teams that were part of stables that were having feuds with other tag teams. Titles didn't matter. And it seems like that's the only issue. If someone's not chasing a title, they're stagnant.
Yeah. You can't have anything outside of a title.
So, yeah, my biggest high spot, there was a monkey flip that Tyler Breeze did. Chad Gable did of Tyler Breeze that basically flipped him twice. It was very well done. My problem with the pre-show matches is that they actually broadcast them. Because they're dark matches.
Yeah.
You go see a show and they're trying to kind of get the crowd excited. They just kind of warm them up, and they're a dark match that doesn't need to be there. There's always a little bit of humor. There's never really strong wrestling. There's not a whole lot of plot. They don't need to be done. I get the whole concept of getting more people on, but there's no reason for another 6-man tag, another pre-show that has been thrown together at the last second.
You could literally cut the pre-show down to a half an hour. Mm-hmm. If you cut out that pre-show match. And I understand from a business point of view that's a paycheck for an extra paycheck for them appearing on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But, you could cut the pre-show down to a half an hour and just listen to the commentary and this match set up and then just go right to your pay-per-view. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I haven't seen a pre-show match that mattered since the first or second pre-show that they did, where it was like, oh yeah, I want to see that one too. So I'm gonna watch it, half an hour early. They
bamboozled you in with a couple of really good, interesting matches, and now it's just 6-man tags.
Well, and that's the problem too, is they never put out a good pre-show. They never give us something that is worth watching. Whereas the WrestleMania one, I remember a couple years ago, you had the Intercontinental Championship was being defended in that pre-show. So that's oh great, yeah, I want to see what happens there. But when it's just a 6-man tag, who cares?
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't know.
I didn't know Mojo Rawley was that unpopular. I don't follow him a lot, but when he came in, the boos were coming in, the "You Can't Wrestle" chants were coming in.
Yeah.
They totally shit on him last night.
Mojo Rawley is a guy who had he had great energy. He was athletic, but he's just not. He isn't. He's a football player. And not just because you're athletic does not always mean that you're a strong performer. His gimmick was, I am hyped which, okay, but a guy that runs around the ring's been done before, and he's not Ultimate Warrior. They were trying to recreate him as the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, like, bright colors, running around, like, shaking the ropes. Like, that's what he did. He's not. And then when he got the call in the draft, everybody was shocked because they're like, he's not ready. He's barely been in NXT. I don't know. He's not the strongest wrestler. He's not strong on the mic. He's a low card guy, and they tried to push him up at least to a mid card guy when he won the Memorial last year. But I don't know. I've never been impressed with him.
So real quickly, are they going to do anything with Ty Dillinger?
No.
Or is he just going to be? Is he just another NXT?
Somehow he's in the top 10 list, which we still don't have any value in. It doesn't matter than the likely, but they mentioned it like 3 or 4 times last night. But yeah, he's in there. He's another one of those. I mean, the NXT guys, unless Vince gets behind them, they're gonna be called up only to be put back down. Really, Sami Zayn.
Does he look really good last night?
He did look good. Ty Dillinger he's got the crowd behind him. He's basically Daniel Bryan 2.0. Yeah. He has no business being a wrestler. He's a small guy. He's like Sami Zayn. Like, he doesn't have the look of a professional wrestler, but he's athletic. He's great on the mic. He's got the crowd behind him. I don't think he's ever going to do anything, though.
I agree.
I really wish they'd bring back the European title for guys like that. I mean, I remember, D'Lo Brown had no business being a champion in the 1990s.
Nope.
But you throw or even X-Pac. These guys have no business being champions. You throw in the European Championship, and you have the potential for this idea of, like, hey, a low-card guy can fight for a championship and not just be either a squash match or a 6-man tag, which is what these guys seem to be always in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it kind of seems like even with the 205 Cruiserweight division, it's just kind of, it had this really good start, and then it just is kind of floundered into, like, I couldn't even tell you right now off the top of my head who's hot right now in it, who's contending. It's just kind of floundered.
They've wasted that concept by making it only on one brand.
And here's the thing: they've done it before.
Yeah,
they tried to duplicate what Monday Nitro was doing with their cruiserweights, and they've squandered that.
Well, and that's the thing too is, it feels like, again, if they're not chasing the title, they're irrelevant. There's a lot of relevancy to these guys, especially when you looked at the first couple of weeks, and then with the Cruiserweight champion, the tournament that they had, Cruiserweight Classic. Some of those matches in the Cruiserweight Classic literally had your mouth just on the floor. Grand Metalik and TJP and all these guys that you'd never heard of before outside of the independent circuit, they were putting on a show that had people in a very small audience like, holy cow, this is really good wrestling. They didn't have to fit like a 2.5 minute time slot. I mean, honestly, I'd like to call it what it is. The Cruiserweights are what the Divas division was before they had the Women's Revolution.
That's true.
They get a little bit of time. They're mostly a joke. They don't get to showcase anything. They get no storyline.
And that's what I was explaining to my wife last night when we were watching it, that she made the comment that, wow, the women's really are really going at it and stuff. And I was like, it's come a long way. And a lot of it has to do with Stephanie McMahon. Yeah. And her putting her power behind it, and and getting legitimate women wrestlers in there. Mm-hmm. But it has, I was telling it has come a long way. Like, it's legitimate. We've had the first women's Royal Rumble. We've had the first women's Elimination Chamber. There have been women matches that have closed pay-per-views and Raws. And so this is truly a women's revolution in wrestling right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, I think when you look at it, long story short, we really need to see less championship chasing and less 6-man tags, and our pre-shows may be a little bit more exciting. Give us a reason to watch it, right? WWE.
And that's, again, not to go back, but that was what was so good about the Attitude Era, that everybody had a story. Mm-hmm. They necessarily weren't chasing a title or this or that. They had stories. Yeah. And some fans liked the stories more than the actual title hunt.
Well, and that's the only way that works is if they bring back stables. Second week in a row, I'm going to get it preachy on stables. Because then you've got grudge matches built in. Hey, this group doesn't like this group, and then these two guys can face these two guys. And You know, that's why I like the New Day so much. Is you never know who's actually going to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be Biggie and Rhodes, or Woods. It could be Biggie and Kingston. Like last night, we had we didn't even have Biggie in the match. You know, I like that because it keeps it fresh. It keeps it fresh, and right now it's just getting stale. So let's wrap up the pre-show.
Okay.
Dillinger pins Mojo Rawley for the win. You had a couple little bits of humor at the beginning, mixed in with a little bit of hot tag. You don't need to have seen it to know that, hey, Dillinger got the win. Basically, give the crowd a cheap pop, let them get excited as they go into the pay-per-view.
Cheap fart.
Yeah, God, I didn't need to watch it. We do, though, introduce the actual main card with Nakamura versus Rusev, which, again, to me felt really pointless. We talked about this last time, that Nakamura didn't have a match.
That is literally what I wrote down. It's like, why have this match?
Yeah.
Just to make sure that people are aware of him before WrestleMania?
And the problem is if you're going to do that, don't put him up against somebody who's hotter than hell right now in Rusev. Legitimately, people were cheering just as much for Rusev last night as they were Nakamura. Nakamura was about to headline WrestleMania in what they continuously plugged last night as the match that the WWE Universe has been wanting forever. So then why do you put him on first against a guy who might get more cheers than he would? I just wasn't...
I mean, it was a good match. It
wasn't a bad match.
Open the pay-per-view. Again, I didn't understand why the match had to be. I didn't understand why they would have him up against Rusev, who's, like you just said, was really hot right now. I guess, I mean, Nakamura does not need for people or to be shown that he's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks to go till WrestleMania. People are watching, or even casually watching, know that he's probably going to fight AJ Styles.
Yeah. I would have loved to have seen Nakamura not even in a match and then somehow get involved just slightly with the six-pack challenge. Like, come out to help somebody and then back off, and then that causes them to win. Or something. Like, push the storyline that way, because he wants the match against AJ.
Because what happens if he gets injured last night?
Exactly. He doesn't.
There goes probably your closing match for WrestleMania. Again, do it like you just said and have him come out during the six-pack challenge. There he is. What's he doing here? Nobody knows. Mm-hmm. Why is he helping so-and-so? You could have totally done that and it'd been okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, I mean, it was a good match. I think Rusev looked very strong, not in just a sense of physically, but he's getting better and better. I love the fact that he is being able to be himself a little bit more with Aiden English, which I think is still the weirdest pairing since Goldust and
Booker T.
And no, not even Booker T. What's his name? Ron Killings. R-Truth.
Yeah.
That was so weird. And even then, you want to go back. But then again, any Goldust pairing outside of the Cody Rhodes one never really made sense. But yeah, it didn't make sense that we had this match. But I'm glad that we had it for the sake that Rusev looked real strong. And there was the Machka kick that he had that literally turned Nakamura inside out. It was like that side kick. Oh my God. Like, that to me was the best element of the match.
So where's Rusev go for WrestleMania?
If they have it, the Andre Memorial.
Does he win it?
No.
Why?
Because I think he's on SmackDown. I think if they have it, it goes to somebody like Elias, because SmackDown will always be number 2 to Raw. And if you've got a guy that they want to push on Raw over a guy that they want to push on SmackDown, it'll go to him. I think Rusev will probably be in the final 3 or 4. He'll have a strong showing. Problem is that you also have a lot of NXT guys who come up just for that match to get a good push. And like last year, you had I can't even think of his name, the big guy, the like Norseman Viking looking dude. And I can think of his name a little bit right now, but and he went to like the final 3. So they really push NXT guys. I don't even know if they'll have the match.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it. Usually by this time they're promoting it. Mm-hmm. But I haven't heard anything about if they're going to have the Battle Royal.
It doesn't make sense because you got the Andre the Giant documentary coming out on HBO. So it's like, you really need it this year. I don't know. Rusev needs some sort. I said he looked good. he's getting better on the mic. He's got some sort of a connection. The crowd loves him, but the problem is that he has no storyline. Like, he's not connected to anything.
Not even a title, not even a grudge match.
He needs to move back to Raw, maybe, and then you can have them go, and those two, at least in the tag team division. Because the tag team division right now in SmackDown is way more played out. Like, there's so much more ways that we can go there as opposed to Raw, where you've got a lot of old tag teams that feel like they're about to dissolve.
And we've seen in the past that he can run with the big boys. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was in the title hunt for a while. He was the U.S. champ for a while. He had a couple of great matches with John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can run with them. I think you're right. I think a switch to the different brand is something to get him out.
Well, and I think, too, is when you have 2 hours as opposed to 3, which I'm still not a huge fan of Raw's 3 hour, but if you're going to stick with it, Rusev and English could do more over there. I'd love to see a Rusev and Elias feud go about 3 months, culminating in SummerSlam or something like that. Both guys that you need a face switch for one of them. I'd say it's probably more Rusev at this point, but something along those lines where at least you get him on a different brand, you put him with somebody new. He doesn't have a spot because he's not in the U.S. title hunt over in SmackDown. And if you're not in the U.S. title hunt and not in a tag team, you're in no man's land because he's not getting pushed for the main title.
And I don't think they'll push him with Aiden English as a tag team.
English isn't strong enough as a wrestler.
No.
He's great on the mic.
Yeah.
I mean, he has no problem improving on the mic. But, yeah, I mean, it was a predictable winner. Like, you can't have Nakamura lose the match against someone who's not even in the 6-pack challenge, the pay-per-view before me.
Not even scheduled for a match at WrestleMania so far. You can't have your Royal Rumble winner, probably main event WrestleMania person, losing. So, again, it was kind of obvious. Good match, though.
It was.
It was a good match.
And it was a good ending. Him getting out of the, what's his submission called? The Accolade. Getting out of the Accolade, hitting him with a Kinshasa to the back of the neck, and then another Kinshasa to the head. It was a good ending, and it also still kind of protected Rusev, even though he did, lose cleanly, which he should to a face. He was almost there. He almost beat him. So it wasn't like he got fooled or anything like that. He looked strong. So even in a clean pin, Rusev still looks strong. Nakamura continues his path to WrestleMania. Moving on to the U.S. Championship, Orton versus Rude.
I texted you. We said last podcast that what are they going to do with Randy Orton? Mm-hmm. And then between that last podcast and last night's pay-per-view, I kept seeing this build-up every week saying, well, the U.S. title is the only one that Randy hasn't won. He hasn't won this one. If he would win this U.S. title, that'd make him a Grand Slam champion. And so as it going on, and I texted you yesterday, I was like, here are my picks.
Yeah.
And I had changed to Randy. I was like, man, Rude's really hot right now. The crowd loves him. But I changed last night. I was like, they're going to put on Orton. Why would you talk about this is the only title that he hasn't won if you're not going to put it on him?
Yeah.
It's a slap in the face.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably one of my favorite matches of the night. But it was also probably one of the slowest matches of the night. These guys are not high spot guys. They both had their moments of explosion. You get a lot of power bombs, and you get a lot of like that strong style wrestling with both of these guys, and both of them can hit real quickly. Very methodical pacing. I didn't really feel at any point it had the big fight feel that they were saying, like, oh my god, finally Orton and Rude, after all these years, they're so much alike, they finally face. It didn't feel as big of a fight, but it was a good match. And let me be the first to say, before we get into the match itself, I still will never get tired of Rude's entrance.
I wrote that same thing down.
I love it.
It's great. I was going to say, what are the top 3 entrances in wrestling right now? Mine are Rude, Finn Balor, and I would say Nakamura. Because I know, like, when WrestleMania cocomes, Nakamura's going to have this extravagant entrance.
Yeah, I'd say right now, Rude and Nakamura, The problem is they haven't had Balor do his demon in a long time,
Yeah.
and that's what he's really like. And they haven't even really talked about it. Like
No.
he hasn't had debuted that.
It's almost like it hasn't existed in over a year.
Yeah, well, I think the last time he actually was the demon was SummerSlam when he got hurt. He was supposed to be the demon against Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt caught the flu, and so then he faced Jericho instead, and that was a hell of a match. But he didn't come out as the demon. He just came out as Balor Club. So I don't think we've seen the demon since SummerSlam. So I'm not as impressed with it anymore because I don't think it exists right now. So I'm going to say my number 3 would probably be Asuka.
Yeah, you know what? I totally forgot.
I mean, just the excitement that people have, and her, like, you know, her entrance to the ring just brings a swagger to it that, you know, it's a little creepy. It's a little, like, you know, exciting. You're just intrigued by her.
Yeah, I totally forgot that.
I'd say my honorable mention's probably New Day, because however overplayed their entrance is, the crowd still loves it every time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You know, it's just fun. Anytime you have those entrances where the crowd can get involved, like you love it. It's just fun. So.
But it was a good match.
It was a good match.
Rude, I will always say, he is such a hard worker. I mean, he was taking some bumps last night that looked a little rough. I mean, and I've heard and I've read that sometimes Randy Orton's not the easiest person to work with.
No, he's a little stiff, but
Rude was working very hard last night. I mean, he was taking some really good bumps. There was one off the rope. He took a bump.
Oh, the superplex?
The superplex off the top rope. Because it looked like they showed it a couple of times on replay. It looked like he landed right on his hip.
Yeah.
But that was a hell of a superplex. And Randy Orton's 6'4", 6'5". So, and that was all the way on the top rope. I mean, it was great to see a superplex.
Yeah, they don't pull those off, you know, and that's one of those things that later on in the night we had an attack that happened with the Bludgeon Brothers, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But you actually heard someone who, I thought this was really funny. He's like, "You won't do it." They're setting up to hit Woods on the stairs. Like, "You won't do it. You won't do it." And that's kind of the impression that you get with a lot of high spots now. The crowd's like almost hesitant to actually get excited because you're like, "Oh, well, that's dangerous. They're not going to do it."
Somebody will come in and break it up.
Yeah. But when you actually see a really strong high spot done well, it's cool, like, to see that. And even like the power bomb that Rude hit, which, like, very rarely do you even see those anymore because you're like, oh, you don't want a concussion. And I understand the safety of the wrestlers is first and foremost, but when you're in a combat sport like this, you've got to, deliver, every now and then. So it was cool to see some of those high spots, especially in a match featuring two guys that really don't go for those very often.
And it looked at that. So RKO, Rude off the top rope, perfectly into an RKO.
Here's my only thing. What move was he going for?
I don't know.
See, that's where I'm like...
Elbow drop, maybe. A knee to the face. It was a little too perfect looking.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just
looked great. But I was I was going back and looking, and I was like, what move was he even going to go for? Like, sometimes, like, when Evan Bourne was going for his, like, okay, he's going for his splash.
He was doing the shooting stars. Yeah.
Whereas this one, it looked just like Rude was just jumping to hit him. And, like, I don't know. Like, maybe a shoulder
battery
tackle.
ram, headbutt.
Something
that
like
landed into a RKO.
But it looked good. Out of nowhere, RKO. But Orton wins, gets that Grand Slam. I still think that Orton's probably in his last couple years.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where even he, and Talking Smack, I never watch it, but it was on for a little bit after the pay-per-view, and he was saying it wasn't that this title eluded me, as everybody keeps saying. He's like, the opportunity just never presented itself. It is true, because he was off winning world championships and the Intercontinental Championship when the U.S. title kind of got going.
And he had a long feud with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, and he never really needed it. Orton didn't. If Orton was one of those guys that he was going to go for the top title, he wasn't going to go for a mid-tier. He didn't need to. He'd already had his stepping stone. So,
end of the match, Jinder Mahal comes out.
Yeah.
Busts up Orton, busts up Rude. Then Rude gets up and busts Jinder Mahal, and then busts up Randy Orton. So clearly, we're setting ourselves up for a triple threat match at WrestleMania for the U.S. title.
And I would love it, except for we've already got the Intercontinental going through a triple threat. And I'm just worried, like, again, there's my worry, is we had talked about how the Mania card is starting to look stacked. Everyone's getting into a good match. But right now, the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title are both looking for triple threats. And triple threats are exciting, but only if you get a couple of, like, if you get one of them in a card, great. If you have 4 of them in a card, you're like, okay.
Well, that's where the stipulations come in. Maybe make it a ladder match, no falls.
Yeah.
Or falls count anywhere, no disqualification. I forgot about the Intercontinental, but you're right. I don't know if they're jiving with 2 triple threat matches for titles.
Yeah, especially because it's the SmackDown and the Raw version of the same title. Intercontinental and U.S. title are the strong mid-tier, which also makes me really think that we're not going to have an Andre the Giant Memorial, Battle Royal, because Jinder Mahal is the guy who would be in that. Even Seth Rollins, until he got hot recently, could have been in that. You keep adding all these triple threats and, fatal 4-ways and all these, like, kind of larger group matches. There's not going to be anybody left for the Battle Royal. So, but yeah, I'm thinking we're going to get our second triple threat match of WrestleMania. Then after this, I was a little confused. So before we get into the next match, we had our first of 3 packages that are promoting Raw matches on a SmackDown pay-per-view. This one was about Ronda Rousey and her whole situation with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H and Kurt Angle and everything. And it was something that you would expect to see on the pre-show, showing off what was going on. But it just took up 3-4 minutes in the middle of the pay-per-view. I didn't have an answer to it, but we got another one later. We got, I think, 2 more later. Why are we getting Raw promo packages on SmackDown?
I feel like they're slowly making the transition into getting rid of the separate brand pay-per-views.
Okay.
We know that's coming. We talked a little bit about it on the last podcast. I think this is just their way of slowly transitioning into, we're not going to do brand split pay-per-views anymore. We're all just going to be in it together. I think that's their subliminal way, or there's an easy way to ease on into it. So when summer comes, it's like, hey, we've been talking about SmackDown and Raw, and we've been talking about Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I could think that would make any sense, because I'm just thinking about this, and the amount of time that you took away from the show as far as packages. You could have had a promo, like someone come out and cut a promo. You could have had another short match. If you're going to have Breezango and Ty Dillinger, Gable Benjamin, and Mojo Rawley on the pre-show, then you've got enough time for another match somewhere. I don't know. I am excited for us to go back to co-brand pay-per-views, because then we won't have matches like we had the next one, our 4th match of the night, the Naomi Lynch, Natalya Carmella. I am, like we talked about ahead of time or earlier tonight, I'm all for good women's wrestling. To me, this was not good women's wrestling. No,
and none of them have a clear path to WrestleMania. This match was put together at the last minute. I mean, granted, the 4 women involved are incredibly talented. Mm-hmm. I enjoy watching Becky Lynch. I enjoy watching Natty Hart. This is all thrown together at the last minute. I feel like they needed something to keep Carmella relevant. So it's like, hey, don't forget she still has the briefcase. I don't know.
Yeah, and the problem is I was looking at it, and it got time. Usually the women's matches, the reason why they're not very strong is they don't get any time. They usually get maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes or, a really short amount of time. They got almost 12 minutes. Like, they had a strong match as far as that goes, but it just was boring. They talk about your popcorn matches. This one was a popcorn match. I could have seen this even seeing this on the card didn't excite me.
But can you see them doing something like this again at WrestleMania? Because right now everything is defined for, except for, which we'll probably find out tonight at Raw, what the path is for Alexa Bliss and whoever's going to be facing her at WrestleMania. But as far as the other side, Ronda Rousey has a match. Mm-hmm. Charlotte Flair and Asuka have a match. So we're probably going to see Bayley and Sasha Banks have a match. So
and that's there's 3 right there.
There's 3 right there,
They're
not
not
including the
4.
Alexis Bliss match, which she will defend her title. So I think that's it for women.
I don't think we're going to get a 4th women's match. We'll get both titles and a Banks and Bayley match. Unless they needed another, maybe they'll throw another 6-on-6 in the pre-show, which wouldn't surprise me. Maybe a Raw versus SmackDown women 6-on-6. I mean,
that's you only got so much time and so much card to do, and if 2 of your biggest matches are the titles, there's no room.
Last year they were able to get more women in because they had the 6-pack challenge. And you had the Fatal 4, or no, was it? Yeah, Fatal 4-way.
Mm-hmm.
So you had 10 women in 2 matches. This year you're going to have 4 women in 2 matches.
Plus the mixed tag match. Didn't have a mixed tag match last year. Is that where?
That's where you had. Yeah. So you had another 2 in there, but just in the 2 title matches alone, you had 10. Now you've got 6 women who are on the outs from this year from last year. So you take 2 of those and you put them, then you got 4, and you're looking at the 4 right now who are on the outs.
And these matches, like Asuka and Flair and Banks and Bayley and Alexa Bliss and whoever,
it's going to be.
These These aren't going to be 5-8 minute matches.
No, they're going to eat up a lot of time.
They are. So with the space they have and the time constraints, I don't think anybody else is getting in.
Well, and I think you're going to see Carmella. I've seen the rumors, and I think it's very funny of how she looks at this. They're talking right now that Carmella is going to cash in on Flair or Asuka, whoever wins it, and is going to get just destroyed.
So building her up to get squashed.
Yes. Which at this point they waited too long for her to cash in. They have the storyline then puts Asuka and Asuka's not going to lose her streak. It's going to be a close match. It's going to be a hell of a match, and I think it could steal the show between these two. But Asuka's going to come out ahead. If she doesn't, it's going to be a shock, and if they want to swerve us, that would be a strong one to do. It depends on how hard they want to push Flair. She doesn't need to win this match, though. But I say Asuka wins it. The rumors are that Carmella knows that she's not going to beat Asuka. She knows that she's only got a couple more months before her contract expires. And so she's thinking to herself, well, if there's any time that I'm going to cash in, I'm completely okay with it being at WrestleMania, even if I lose. So they kind of, the talkings behind the curtain are that, yeah, you're going to cash in, you're going to cash at Mania, you're going to get a nice little amount of attention, you're going to get squashed, and, if you're going to lose anyway, might as well be at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because
this match was filler.
This one was so filler.
It was just to keep Carmella relevant, give a few more of the ladies on the card. But yeah, because the other 3 have no clear path.
And how far all 3 of them have fallen so quickly. I mean, Becky Lynch less than a year ago was the number 1 female pick on the draft. She was the first female selected in the draft. Naomi less than a year ago was women's champ. And then Natty less than a year ago was women's champ. Like Flair took it back from her. Like it's moments like this where I continue to think that a secondary women's title or a tag team women's title would be so much stronger, because right now you have a luxury of too many very strong female wrestlers and not enough storyline to continuously plug them into 2-on-2, 3-on-3 tag team matches.
Agree.
You're
preaching to the choir here.
Okay. Well, let's move on to a tag team match. The Usos versus the New Day. For me, this was such a good match, and I'm disappointed how it ended because of how strong a match it could have been. But I am happy with the ending.
It ended in a no contest. Of course, the Bludgeon Brothers, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, come out, squash both teams.
And how?
Yeah, that bump that Xavier Woods took off of the steel steps was nasty looking.
Oh, it was essentially a 2-man power bomb onto steel steps, and I thought it killed him. Like you could just, I was looking at his eyes, and he definitely rolled him back to make it. He sold it really well, but a part of me was like, oh, he's dead. Like,
Yeah.
they killed him because you got two strong guys, and this is where the guy is yelling, "You're not going to do it, you're not going to do it." Because, yeah, you're not going to throw a guy onto steel steps like that. And then they did it, and they go, "Oh, you did it." Like, if you go back and listen to it, the guy in the audience is hilarious. But
Yeah, I mean, because that's what we've been used to lately is those high spots, and then something happens, somebody comes in to break up.
yeah.
But yeah, that was nasty looking. That hurt my spine.
That, and then when they threw Kofi into the post, he sold that well, too. Like,
Yeah.
he went full force into it and, like, flipped himself out, and wow.
But the match with the Usos was pretty good.
It was fun because you saw, I mean, realistically for me, the match was cool, but it could have been a better match. But the entire match is just them stealing each other's moves.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't really get going. It just was like, oh, we're going to start doing each other's moves, starting with the unicorn stampede in the corner. And then it was like everything that we saw was.
And I think
was
that probably was because it was built around they knew the squash ending.
Yeah.
Like they knew that there was going to be a no contest. So let's get in our high spots here. Let's not really add too much layers to this match. And then because we know the ending's going to be pointless.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see another I'm excited to see Usos, New Day, and Bludgeon Brothers go at it. You know it's going to be another triple threat, which I'm even thinking, like, is there anybody else in SmackDown who could be added? And then we could have essentially another, like, Fatal 4-Way ladder match or Fatal 4-Way tables, ladders, chairs match or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know unless they introduce somebody from NXT in the time. There's no one who can go for this. So it's going to be a triple threat. They have to have a stipulation. You can't have this many triple threat matches without any stipulation.
Yeah. Again, that would be the third. If everything goes to fruition, that would be the third triple threat match at WrestleMania.
I'm even going to propose a fourth one by the end of tonight's podcast, but I won't go too far there. This was a great swerve. I don't think anybody expected the Bludgeon Brothers. Because they continued to show it off as, like, you know, one more match between the Usos and the New Day. They continuously have put on, it's probably one of the best rivalries we've had over the past couple of years with any tag teams. And they're right. They've been the top two tag teams realistically for the last 3-4 years. So they played it well, like that we were going to get some resolution. So good swerve. I was really thinking this was going to be a much better match. But the Bludgeon Brothers are too strong not to win at Mania.
Yeah. It almost reminds me of like when Kane and Undertaker were tag team. It's like, well, how the hell are you going to beat these two guys?
Yeah.
Like who in your right mind would you propose that could beat Undertaker and Kane in a tag team match? And I'm kind of getting the same sense with the Bludgeon Brothers. Like, these guys are so big.
Well, and did you see Harper last night? He is slimmed down. Yeah. The guy was 250, 300.
CrossFit or something. I mean,
he's skinny. He is so skinny now, and that's
still looks big.
Oh, he looks huge. But you know, it's either Rowan got bigger or Harper lost some weight. But he looks completely toned down. I'm excited to see what they do with it. But it would have been a complete waste of everything they've done with the Bludgeon Brothers if at Mania they don't win. Like, they've squashed everybody. It'd be pointless for them to put them in the match and then not win.
And then the tag team landscape on SmackDown has a fresh start.
Yeah. The only thing I could see happening, if it doesn't change otherwise, is maybe Authors of Pain from NXT coming in and messing up the match at WrestleMania, and then you have two big powerhouses going at it, post. Potentially. But they need something. The Usos and the New Day need to not have the championships for a little while, because you need to freshen up the landscape, like you said. So, not that much else to talk about with that match. I mean, it really didn't go anywhere. They introduced the no contest pretty quickly, and then they went and they did a promo again for Raw, and then they come back and they're still getting these guys out. New Day and Usos are still being taken out. So they really played up the damage that was done. Moving on to our female main event, Charlotte Flair versus Ruby Riott. An interesting match. I had not been watching SmackDown up to this, so I actually did appreciate their recap and their promo. The whole concept of Flair and Ruby Riott basically coming in to deconstruct the idea or the myth of Flair and what she represented, and going through her friends and Flair going through the Riot Squad in a way of like 1 down, 2 to go, 2 down, 1 to go, that kind of thing. It seemed like this match was hyped fairly well on SmackDown through the recap package. What did you think of the match?
I felt like this was the only marquee matchup you could have had at a women's SmackDown at the moment.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
I mean, there's nothing else. Charlotte Flair has done it all within the landscape of at least SmackDown women's division. So I feel like this was a good, fresh start. You still had a little bit of anxiety, like maybe they could pull a swerve on you and have Ruby Riott win.
Oh, I hoped not.
But you saw it coming. I mean, the matchup between Asuka is what the WWE Universe wants. That's what is probably going to be a 5-star match at WrestleMania.
It's going to be amazing.
But this was a great. I enjoyed this match.
It was a strong match.
Right out the gates, both of them were very physical. Riott hit a Riott kick right out of the gate, and she was very physical, Charlotte Flair, which sometimes you don't really see a lot of. I don't think we've seen a lot of that since she's been on Raw.
Yeah.
But it was a good match. It was a good match. There was one spot I liked where Flair sent Riott into the barricade when she hit a moonsault.
Yeah, and she did her Flair moonsault from the barricade.
Yeah,
which I was nervous because it looked like Riott didn't catch her.
Yeah,
but I think she caught enough of her to help her out there. But yeah, I'm with you there. We knew what was going to happen. We knew Flair was going to win. We knew that if Riott won, there would be absolute chaos. Asuka needed Flair to win. We needed Flair to win. And then we see the figure 8. It was slapped on.
But what we didn't know was Asuka coming out after Flair's victory.
I thought it was going to happen on SmackDown this week.
Yeah.
But I thought it was strong that they included her. This means that Asuka will be leaving Raw, which is good because Raw is getting crowded. That also is going to mean that we'll probably have some shakeups at some point. I think the draft will probably happen in the month or so after Mania. They're going to do another superstar shakeup. They'll kind of do the draft like they used to do it, whereas anybody can be drafted, or something like that. I don't know how they'll do it, but the women's division in both brands needs a shakeup.
So where's this leave Alexis Bliss for WrestleMania? Now that everything is set in stone on the Charlotte Flair side and Asuka side, where's this leave Alexis Bliss?
Alexa's probably going to end up facing Nia Jax. They've been playing, and I think it's a good match.
But that feels like prize A and then prize A1. Like it's not, it doesn't seem very like, okay, here's our marquee. You guys will just, how about you and Jax? You guys have been fighting.
Well, I think they need to play up the history if that's going to work. And they need to play up the fact that only a week ago, Bliss was genuinely acting the friend. She was the person who was consoling Jax in the back, saying like, "Hey, it's okay. You got to keep your head up. You don't need to prove anything. You're great." And then now with Asuka, she's going to say, "All right, if I'm that great, give me a chance." So you're definitely going to see this play up. The only problem is how many friendship implosions are you going to throw into one Mania? You're going to get it with Banks and Bayley. You're going to get it here with Bliss and Jax, and you're going to get it in some form or fashion with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. How many of these storylines? That's the only problem. Is
it's almost like they're running multiple storylines under the same heading.
Yeah, and they're forgetting. Oh wait, at some point they're all going to come together, and they're going to be in the same 5-hour block, and people are going to notice that these storylines are not that varied. I don't know where else they would go. There's really not a whole lot of strength right now in the women's division on Raw and compared to SmackDown. As soon as you take Asuka out of the situation, you got Bliss, you got Jax, you got Bayley and Banks. Unless you do a Bliss, Banks, Jax, and Bayley fatal 4-way, that could potentially, and then you have them leading into, because I don't know if we've seen enough build-up into their, like we've seen the slow burn about eventually someone's going to do something, but now we're seeing it. Maybe there's a fatal 4-way there that eventually culminates with a Banks and Bayley SummerSlam, huge, like finally, like the loser quits or something, some huge stipulation. I don't know. I don't know, but I think tonight we'll find out.
Yeah. I'm sure you're right. I don't know. I don't know. Like, thinking about it now and listening to you talk about it, it's like, yeah, I'm really excited to see Charlotte Flair and Asuka. Then I was like, they haven't done really nothing to build up Alexis Bliss.
Yeah, they don't.
They
seem
could have
to
after
care.
Elimination Chamber, but it's just kind of fell flat.
They were waiting for Asuka, and now that that's been done, we're going to see something. So we're going to get some answers.
Yeah,
tonight.
but if they've had this in plan for months now, since at least since the Royal Rumble, I don't know. They should have been building something.
Well, maybe they have, and we just haven't seen it. I don't know. I think the fact that we've seen basically since Elimination Chamber and the Raw after and another match, we've seen Jax a powerhouse. I think that they're playing her up as this next in line, and I think that ultimately she's going to win. She's never gotten a belt yet, so I think that this gives her an opportunity then to be the women's champion, add some new, fresh faces. Bliss is phenomenal. I think she's one of the best performers in the women's division right now, but they need something different. They need her to be chasing the title for a little bit, or just somebody else in the title picture. You can only do so. They've run out of faces to go against. Yeah, it's getting real stale. So, all right, moving on to our final match of the night, 6-pack challenge. A really interesting beginning to this match where you see John Cena being John Cena and giving 4 AAs in a row, which at some point I was like, stop. It's one of those things where you're just like yelling at the screen, stop going to him. After the first 2, like, he's going to do it.
Yeah, it's that whole Super Cena thing that I don't necessarily care for. I don't know what they were trying to do. Like,
I don't know.
Like, here's your high spot.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like he really had a high spot for the rest of the match.
For him, other than, he had the AA to Styles onto the table. That was his other major move, his high spot, I think, of the night. To me, the best thing that came out of this match was not the winner, was not, Cena still doesn't have a path. To me, the storyline that came out of this match was Shane McMahon's going to wrestle at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think now I mentioned that there's a 4th triple threat match that we're going to get. I think it's going to be Zayn, Owens, and McMahon, and the loser leaves. Because McMahon needs to go away for a little bit. There's been they continuously pushed up this idea like Daniel Bryan or McMahon is going to leave because they can't coexist together. I think that what's going to happen is, because they had this before where they had the loser leaves with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It went to a no contest with him and Styles, like, loser leaves WWE, and none of them lost. So it was like, okay, well, none of them leave. I think that you're going to see Shane McMahon take an exit for a little bit. He's still a family man. His kids are still young. He doesn't want to do this full time. He never was supposed to. He was like, oh crap, we don't have anybody for The Undertaker to face. And then he stayed around.
Yeah.
But again, another triple threat match. So that worries me.
Yeah, I mean, and do you have to have Shane McMahon in a WrestleMania match?
No.
We get it.
Yeah, we don't.
You do great, entertaining matches. But I almost kind of felt like the last year's match with, was it AJ Styles? It was good. It was a great match to open WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But I mean, the leading up to it, I was like, okay, I'll buy it. This time around, it's like, do you always have to insert yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather see Daniel Bryan. Now I know they're not going to let him wrestle.
They'll never let him wrestle
again.
But
that's who I'd rather see.
Well, I actually thought we were going to see a Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon match up until recently, because the storylines definitely shifted us away from that. But or maybe it's it's this idea that we're going to get Daniel Bryan, who's definitely shown some bias toward Owens and Zayn in the storyline, that he says, if my guys win, I'm the champion. If you win, I'm the champion. I'm the one who is going to be sticking around. I'll be the next general manager. If your guys win, I'll step away and you don't have to deal with me anymore. One person that I just feel didn't necessarily have a place in the match at any point in time was Baron Corbin.
Nope. He was there to hit a couple of high spots, a couple of nice moves. He had a great, what do they call it, a deep six on Styles, and then a chokeslam backbreaker to Owens was his highlights. But other than that, he was mostly out of the ring for most of the time.
Yeah, they keep trying to push him, and I don't know why. I get that he's a big man. He's talented. He's young. He hasn't gotten injured, so there's a lot of good things going for him. But he's gotten to a point where he's doing the same 4 or 5 moves, and he's not going to win the championship. He's got horrible chemistry backstage. He's not, in any point in time in the near future, do I see him holding on to a major belt. Maybe after Mania he goes for the U.S. title.
Did they bring him up too soon?
Oh, yeah.
From NXT.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He should have.
They're like, oh, here's a big guy, and he's got an attitude.
Well, and they brought him up without any flash or anything like that. He just all of a sudden was in the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I was watching it, and I'm like, that's Baron Corbin? Oh, okay. And then he ends up winning. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, it was a really weird call up. Yeah, I think they brought him up too soon. It's kind of like Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews is a guy who never really got enough time to simmer down in NXT. The crowd didn't really, athletic, but these guys just need to develop their character. As we've seen over and over again, athletic prowess alone does not make you a good wrestler.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, he spent most of his time outside the ring. He just kind of was there to be there.
As did Dolph Ziggler, who did you watch the pre-show?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of his, essentially, let's call it what it was. It was the interview, but it was a promo, essentially. Yeah. He had some time on the mic. What did you think of that? Because there were a couple takeaways that I had, but I want to see what you thought.
It was good. I always feel like when I see Dolph Ziggler, they want him to be Shawn Michaels 2.0.
They've been trying for years.
And he's not. He's his own person. I enjoy him. I enjoyed his run when he snuck in and won the World Championship. But I don't know where else you go with his character, unless you want him to be a Shawn Michaels 2.0. I enjoyed his promo last night. I enjoyed him answering the Twitter questions that they were reading to him. But I don't know. He's in this weird realm for me right now where it's like, I don't know if he's a bad guy. I don't know if he's a good guy. I don't know if he's just kind of in between. And I know they were making such a big deal about it because he was going to come back to WWE and he signed a new contract. But now what do you do with him?
Well, and I think that the one thing he said last night, it's kind of one of those glass ceiling situations. And it's one of those, it felt like he almost broke kayfabe a little bit when Booker T mentioned something of have we seen your best days? And you could tell he kind of got a little genuinely upset by it. It didn't feel like it was a part of it didn't feel like it was part of the plan. It felt like a little bit of a shoot where he's like, how dare you? I come in every day. I come in every single day and work. And for 13 years, I haven't missed an event due to injury. And that was where I was like, oh, it's a shoot, because Dolph Ziggler has continuously had the problem of and he's been one of those guys that they always have shied away from because of injury. He's been one of those guys that we were very hesitant, almost that Sasha Banks syndrome that we had where they didn't want to put the belt on her because they're like, oh, she keeps getting hurt and we just can't commit to it. After he had that huge cash-in on Del Rio, he was the hottest wrestler in the company. Then he had a concussion, and then he had another one. So, since then, he's not missed anything. He's been consistent, and he's been one of the best performers. They always talk about he opens shows when he's not in a main event. He always opens because his energy's great. He always puts on a good show, and no one sells like Dolph Ziggler.
But what do you do with him? Are they going to give him another championship shot?
Throw him back on Raw and let him go against The Miz. Let him actually stay heel, because every now and then a good heel is okay with the right two heels. Those two would be in a war of words. That would be amazing. I'd love to see those two go at it because they came into the business roughly about the same time.
Yeah.
And they're pushing Miz. Miz is hotter than ever. And what are you doing with Ziggler? So maybe let it open up a little bit and let them just. Miz is always best when he's shooting, when he's doing, real life situations and how it incorporates its way into the real world.
Did you see Ziggler hit a famous last night?
God, that was awesome! Wasn't that? It was out of an AA?
Yeah,
that was one of the better moves of the match.
Yeah, I thought the crowd was gonna explode because we haven't seen that move in a while.
No, not in that sense. That was almost the same as like seeing Randy Orton's RKO on Rollins at Mania a couple years ago. Like you don't expect that out of that moveset.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed that. That was a nice little spot. I don't know. Ziggler, like you said, what you just said about putting him on Raw, I think would be the best thing for him right now. What has he done on SmackDown?
He had a really bad gimmick of being everybody else's gimmick, and then came out to no music for a while, and then gave up his U.S. championship, went off the air for about a month, and then came back. Like that, they've continuously like teased us that they have something for him, but they've never actually let him go with it. They just continuously let him go for like, hey,
and I feel like he's
go a month and then pull back.
He's one of the guys that you could depend on. He's been around long enough. He, like you said earlier, he has that high energy. I feel like you could depend on him to, okay, we're going to run with this. You go with it, and we'll see where it goes.
He's kind of gone the exact opposite route that most performers go. Usually it's a slow burn. They usually are never utilized as well as they should be. Constantly getting a little bit of attention, like the guys that we've been talking about with like Sami Zayn and these guys that are great performers, but they never really get the big attention. And then eventually they do. Like Kofi Kingston was a good mid-level guy, but never really got attention. Now he is with the New Day and getting a lot of tag team, getting championships, and always being featured. Ziggler was getting too much attention early on. He was like shot out of a cannon at the beginning of his career, at least as Ziggler. And then since then it's been like less and less and less. And I think that they feel like maybe they've used him up. They don't know what else to do with him.
Yeah, maybe he needs to take a break and just go be independent for a while.
I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to New Japan, but he is sticking around for a while.
I feel like he would fit in perfectly in New Japan.
Put him in the Bullet Club, or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, the match, was a decent match. We haven't really gone through it like as far as a storyline, but it ends with Styles hitting a forearm to Owens. Who had just done a pop-up powerbomb to Cena. So it looked like Owens actually may take the win, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Styles hits Styles' forearm.
Something I think we should cover real quick is, so we finally, after Ziggler hits Cena with the Famouser, we get the point to where we have just Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in the ring. They were planning for Zayn to just lay down and for Owens to pin him, since they're buddies and they're all in this together. And I feel like the way they played it up was really interesting, because I feel like Kevin Owens didn't totally believe him.
Looked like he worried that he's going to roll him up.
Yeah,
and so and
he
didn't believe him. And it was funny because it was like Zayn was not the instigator. Owens started punching Zayn first, and then he rolled him up. He's like, all right, well, fine, I guess we're going to do this. Yeah, that's a strong point, and I think that we have to have a match between these two in some fashion at Mania. Maybe McMahon, like we said earlier, gets involved. Maybe not, but... Because
what led up to that was that Owens was pinning somebody, and Shane McMahon pulled him out of the ring, or pulled the ref out of the ring so the count couldn't finish.
Yep.
And then Sami Zayn went in for the pin, and then Shane McMahon pulls Zayn out so the count can't finish.
Even before that, the reason why he pulled him is that Owens hit a huge super kick.
Great camera angle.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the camera angle was kind of shot him right behind Shane McMahon's shoulder.
It was done very well.
And out of nowhere, this super kick comes from Owens and just really hit him on the chin.
Yeah. So it was, and so McMahon's upset. Shane gets hit, with the super kick, and so then, but you've got this bad blood, to begin with, and so he pulls him off. So there's a strong storyline, as we said, but Ziggler, Corbin, they don't have a storyline. They didn't have something that happened in the match to put them somewhere. So Andre the Giant, maybe, if that happens, maybe they'll get tossed in there.
Again, I feel like you could have a match with just Zayn and Owens. Why insert
That's the match we
Shane
need.
McMahon into it? I guess for to have Shane McMahon and him do his high spots and jumping from ring post to ring post. I guess, but I mean, you could just. I would be totally okay and enjoy just a big stage Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match.
Well, the last time we had those two together, I think it was Battleground a couple years ago, and it was one of the best matches of the year. They put on a match of the year candidate, and
maybe winner becomes number one contender.
Something they need those two to have a shot because both of them together have been so strong in one-on-one matches. But outside of Owens with his Universal Championship for a little bit, neither one of them has really gotten a whole lot of attention and love. It just they need it. They're strong performers. So there we go. We've got Styles at the pin of Owens, and John Cena still does not have his road to WrestleMania.
Did you notice when the camera? He was so after the match, Cena just kind of sat there, slumped over in the corner.
Good angle.
Good angle. The camera started going towards him, and he knocked the camera out of the way.
Yeah, and good for him. It's it makes Cena was not that mad. He knows what's going to happen to him at Mania, but that was good acting.
Yeah,
made it feel very real. I liked it.
And finally, now what they've been talking about all night. Announcers can now say that we're going to get the AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura match. Sorry about that. That they've been talking about all night. They finally put that in the books.
And if you haven't yet seen, there's the one of the last matches that they had together before they came to WWE on New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can go to YouTube and just look up Nakamura Styles match, and one of the best matches I've ever seen. Just the chemistry between the two. Both of them know how to play a crowd. They both know how to put the entertainment into a match. But intense. The athleticism, yes.
Intense. It was such an intense match.
And it's the first time that they've ever been seen on this scale. And I think that we will see what happens as far as what happens with Cena going forward with Mania. But I think this, as it should, if they eventually get back to the Royal Rumble main events WrestleMania, this might be an awesome way to close out the show.
Is there any fear in you that the match won't live up to the hype?
No.
That people will come away like, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't. That's my biggest fear, is that the match will not live up to the hype.
For me, I worry about hype as far as any other two performers. I have not yet seen a match that AJ Styles has been in that he didn't deliver. It may have not been a good of a match just because the storyline wasn't strong or the other performers weren't as strong. But if you look at Nakamura's last couple major matches, him against when actually it was last year when Nakamura faced Dolph Ziggler at a SmackDown in Dayton, best match that he had on the main roster. His match against Sami Zayn and NXT was phenomenal. Anytime that they build up a match with Nakamura, it has delivered. Also, to that same extent, Styles has consistently been the best performer in WWE since he debuted in Royal Rumble. So I think you put those two together, the storyline sells itself.
You got a month to build, a little less than a month to build the match,
and it's all there. They've worked together before. They know each other. They don't have to, have any little like a tag team match or something where there's a little bit of it. Have them have a couple squash matches with some, mid-level guys, or don't even have them wrestle. Put those two together in promos for the next 4 weeks on SmackDown and let them go. I'm
saying it right now. At some point on SmackDown, they'll have them tag team together against two other people leading up to WrestleMania. They always do it.
Probably those two against Zayn and Owens.
There you go.
You
record it right now.
Yep.
Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens will face Nakamura and AJ Styles at some point on SmackDown. Owens and Zayn will fight. Then Nakamura and AJ Styles will fight, and then that's how you end SmackDown 1 week.
Yeah, that might even be tomorrow. We'll see. Okay, so I think that we can put a wrap on at least our discussion of Fastlane. Before we leave today, I do want to spend a little time talking about our Wrestlemania matches that we have, and we are going to hopefully in the next couple weeks bring you a Road to WrestleMania episode, maybe an hour or so, just talking about our discussion there. But kind of looking at the point now, we've got about half the card filled. We don't have to do picks. We'll do that later, but right now, currently, the matches that are in the books are our triple threat with The Miz versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. We have Charlotte Flair versus Asuka, as we saw last night, for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Still apparently on the books is the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament Final, which I'm pretty sure that will be a pre-show match. AJ Styles now versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon in a mixed match, or a mixed gender tag team match. And then Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. The big things, the big questions still that are around are the Women's Championship on Raw with Bliss. We still don't know who the Bar is going to face for the Raw Championship. We don't know what's going to happen with Zayn and Owens, nor do we know where they're going to go with Banks and Bayley. We have some very strong inclinations, as we talked about with our discussion of Fastlane, what they're going to do with the U.S. title and the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And then we have Braun Strowman.
The giant elephant in the room.
Yes, the mastodon.
What do you do? I don't feel like you can have... Let's just assume that they're not going to have the Battle Royal. Mm-hmm. Let's just assume that they're not going to do that this year. Which, again, go back to your point earlier in the podcast. You got a fantastic-looking documentary, which I posted on our Facebook page, of Andre the Giant. Why wouldn't you have the Battle Royal this year to promote that? But let's just assume that they're not going to do that. You have to fit Elias in somewhere. You have to fit Braun Strowman in somewhere. Dolph Ziggler in somewhere. I'm sure there's a handful of other people I'm forgetting right now that you would like to fit on there. I don't see how hot Elias has been right now. I don't see how you not put him on WrestleMania.
This is when I really, really miss, and I think you said this last time, Money in the Bank at Mania. This would have been perfect for Money.
I said that last podcast. You're 100% right. You do a Money in the Bank. That way you can throw in Elias, you can throw in Dolph Ziggler, you can throw on these people that are kind of straggling behind that don't really have a clear path to WrestleMania. I don't know if John Cena would try to insert himself into that match also, but...
Oh, and I didn't even say, we still don't know what's going to happen with Cena. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it right now, currently we have 6 matches. You can assume with Bliss we'll have a 7th. The Bar for the Raw Tag Team Championships, there's your 8th. Something with Zayn and Owens as your 9th match. SmackDown Tag Team 10th, U.S. title 11th. And then if Banks and Bayley are not involved with Bliss, then there's 12 matches right there.
Probably 2 pre-show matches.
At least, if not 3 or 4. At least maybe 3. We also have another match with if Cena gets involved somewhere, and if Strowman. You're looking at 14 matches.
Oh, so stacked.
Which is a lot of wrestling. Even over 5. Because you're also going to have a musical guest that'll come in and eat up 20 minutes where, I can refill on my Swedish meatballs and my nachos and everything. But, that's a lot of wrestling. What are your thoughts on this? I've seen this. I even saw this today. Don't know if it's going to happen. Do you think they would pull Strowman completely from WrestleMania? Because that's the current rumor.
The build-up has been so strong for him for the past 6 months, at least.
The most recent rumor I've seen is that if Reigns goes ahead and actually competes against Brock Lesnar, because there's some worry because there's a little bit of discussion about performance-enhancing drug use, if Reigns doesn't get pulled and you have Lesnar and Reigns as planned, Strowman does not have a match and they don't want to force it. He's backup plan. He's the backup plan that if something happens to Reigns, then Strowman steps in. And that'd be a hell of a match. I would have no problem versus Lesnar and Strowman. Give the belt to Strowman as he deserves it. He's put in the most amount of work over the past year of any big man.
I know you're not going to want to hear this, but can we say another triple threat match?
Cinco
triple threat match.
Tonight is going to give us a lot. By the time that the episode of this podcast drops, we may have a lot more updates on our Facebook page to kind of keep you guys aware. But I don't know.
I just don't see
really
how
don't
you
know.
don't have him in a match at WrestleMania with all the build-up.
He, by far, is one of the most... the hottest, in my opinion, the hottest individual wrestler in WWE right now. Maybe with the number 2 being either Asuka or The Miz. I just see so many things going well for these people that he just can't not put Strowman in.
But you only got so much time and so much card space.
At that point, drop the bar.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares about seeing every title defended? We don't need to see every title defended.
And not every WrestleMania, that's not the case sometimes. Yeah.
So maybe you drop the bar from it and give some... I don't know. I just want to see Strowman. I would be very upset if we go an entire pay-per-view without Strowman competing.
They got him flipping ambulances. They have him flipping trucks.
Grand pianos.
Grand pianos, breaking cellos over people's backs. Why wouldn't you have him at WrestleMania?
Yeah.
That would be stupid.
Well, I'm very scared to say that might be the case because they have not yet given us anything. There's no reason why we'd get an Elias. We've seen Elias destroyed by Strowman. We don't need a match for that to happen. So there's no reason to put those two together, and everybody else right now on Raw is taken.
They got 3 weeks. They got 3 weeks to put something together.
So we'll see. I think tonight is we're going to see Lesnar and Reigns together for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. So that will give us a little bit of insight. But yeah, we'll be coming at you in a couple weeks here before WrestleMania with our Road to WrestleMania preview. We'll find some time to get that one in. And at that point, we will give you our picks. And hopefully we'll have a little bit more solidified. Before we go, while we were recording this episode, Ben got some breaking news, which isn't quite wrestling, but he had an impact for wrestling for many years. So Ben, what is your breaking news?
That CM Punk is planning his MMA comeback sometime in the June pay-per-view for UFC.
So what's your over-under? 18 seconds?
I'm sorry, UCF.
Yes. Do you think he'll last longer than 18 seconds?
UFC. I think I'm having a stroke right now. UFC. There you go. Stroke gone.
Either that and the sad thing is I'm not even noticing it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, those letters starting right. Quarterback for the USC Trojans this summer in spring practice. What the hell?
In the Canadian League.
UFC. He's planning his UFC comeback. As you all know, I'm sure many people tuned in to watch his first attempt. He got his ass kicked.
Oh, it was the best thing I've ever seen.
Under 25 seconds, I would say. Ass kicking. It was to go, so they had to hurry.
And speaking of, a very nice callback that Stephanie McMahon had about a month after that, where we're in Chicago, and they're like, CM Punk's, and they're like, oh yeah, you keep that up for longer than 22 seconds, and you'd be beating him. Like, yep, there you go. We can move on now.
We'll see. I've always enjoyed CM Punk. I think he's the type of person that learns from things. I think he probably learned a lot from his first match and how well it went and how well it didn't go.
Oh, he got his ass kicked. Though.
I'm looking at somebody that's a professional that takes his craft very seriously, and that we'll probably see a better match. Who his opponent is, it hasn't been said, but I feel like it will be a better outing. Whether he's meant for Ultimate Fighting Championship, I don't know. I was hoping for high expectations in that first match, and then I watched it, and then he got his ass beat, and I was like, well,
and I mean, I'm going to call it right now. I think that after WrestleMania, you're going to see Brock Lesnar start to make his way out. Maybe Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk.
No. He would destroy him.
That'd be a fun match. That's like celebrity boxing or something. We need to watch that someday.
Yeah.
But, okay. Well, that about wraps us up this time. We will be coming to you, like I said, in a couple weeks with a Road to WrestleMania show. And then we will be then doing a hopefully not nearly as long as the 5 hours that we're going to have of Mania, but we'll have our special, maybe even a 2-parter. We'll see how long the first recording is. But our WrestleMania edition episode of Top Rope Wrestling. Anything else from you today, Ben?
If you want daily news and commentary and rumors on wrestling, I encourage you to visit our Facebook page, Top Rope Wrestling Podcast at Facebook. There's an email there, too, to contact us. This week, we're probably going to start putting up some polls, some questionnaires. We'll build in our fan base, which is the most important thing. Again, daily wrestling news and rumors posted there. Please please accept us. We ask
Please
you.
love us.
Please love us. But yeah, check it out. Top Rope Wrestling Podcast, Facebook.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Ben's in charge of that, and it's where I get my daily dose. Either that or through Facebook Messenger. I don't even have to go look for the news. He comes straight to me. So if you guys want the up-to-date news, even while we're recording, sometimes he just gets those updates right then and there. So check out Facebook for those. And spread the love on Top Rope Wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan and you got some friends, tell them to check us out. And if you don't like what we're doing, go on to Facebook, tell us what to do better, and we'll do it. But until then, you want to send us off, Ben?
Yeah, episode number 2 in the books, Fastlane.